Happy morning to you all. Blue Stars Higher Secondary School welcomes you all to learn this poem, Macavity the Mystery Cat, which was written by T.S. Eliot. Now we are going to learn about T.S. Eliot, the poet of this poem, Macavity the Mystery Cat. Thomas Stearns Eliot. He was born on 26th September 1888 in Missouri. About his childhood, his father, Henry Ware Eliot, he was the president of the Hydraulic Brick Company. And then about his mother, Charlotte Champ Stearns, she was the volunteer at the Humanity Club of St. Louis, and she was a teacher. At the time of Eliot's birth, his parents were in their mid-40s. His siblings were already grown. About his education, he attended Harvard University. He left with a master's and undergraduate degrees, and he returned to Harvard to receive a doctorate degree in philosophy. We are going to learn about the poet briefly now. Thomas Stearns Eliot is period 1888 to 1965. He was born in St. Louis, Missouri, in an old New England family. He was educated at Harvard and did graduate work in philosophy at the Sorbonne, Harvard, and Merton College, Oxford. He settled in England, where he was for a time a schoolmaster and a bank clerk, and eventually literary editor for the publishing house Faber and Faber. Yes, it's a famous publishing house, of which he later became a director. He became a director in this publishing house, Faber and Faber. He founded, and during the 17 years of its publication, 1922 to 1939, he edited the exclusive and influential literary journal Criterion. In 1927, Eliot became a British citizen and about the same time entered the Anglican Church. Eliot has been one of the most daring innovators of 20th century poetry, never compromising either with the public or indeed with language itself. He has followed his belief that poetry should aim at a representation of the complexities of modern civilization in language, and that such representation necessarily leads to difficult poetry. Despite this difficulty, his influence on modern poetic diction has been immense. Eliot's poetry from Proof Rock 1917 to the Four Quarters 1943. It reflects the development of a Christian writer. The early work, especially The Wasteland 1922, is essentially negative, the expression of that horror from which the search for a higher world arises. In Ash Wednesday 1930 and the Four Quarters, this higher world becomes more visible. Nonetheless, Eliot has always taken care not to become a religious poet, and often belittled the power of poetry as a religious force. However, his dramas Murder in the Cathedral 1935 and The Family Reunion 1939. These dramas are more openly Christian apologies. In his essays, especially the latter ones, Eliot advocates a traditionalism in religion, society, and literature that seems at odds with his pioneer activity as a poet. But although the Eliot of Notes towards a definition of culture 1948 is an older man than the poet of The Wasteland, it should not be forgotten that for Eliot, tradition is a living organism comprising past and present in constant mutual interaction. Eliot's plays Murder in the Cathedral 1935, The Family Reunion 1939, The Cocktail Party 1949, The Confidential Clerk 1958, and The Elder Statesman 1959 were published. T.S. Eliot died on 4th January 1965. Now we are going to learn about the poem Makaviti the Mystery Cat. It's the best known of Eliot's old poems book of practical cats, the only book Eliot wrote for a younger audience. The poem is considered particularly suitable reading for 11 and 12-year-old. Makaviti, also called the Mystery Cat, the Hidden Paw, and Napoleon of Crime. So Makaviti is a master criminal, but in the poem he is too clever to leave any evidence of his guilt. There is a resemblance with Professor James Moriarty from the Sherlock Holmes stories by Arthur Conan Doyle. In a letter to Frank Morley, Eliot wrote, "I have done a new cat modeled on the late Professor Moriarty. But he doesn't seem very popular, too sophisticated perhaps." Sherlock Holmes describes Moriarty as the Napoleon of crime in The Adventure of the Final Problem and A Napoleon Gone Wrong in the Valley of Fear. The idea that Makaviti was Moriarty was first revealed by H.G. Webster and H.W. Starr. Makaviti, an attempt to unravel his mystery, 1954. An identification rediscovered by Catherine Loach. According to the poem, even when the Secret Service decides that Makaviti was behind a loss, they can't get him there as he is a mile away. Doyle wrote that Moriarty is never caught, as at moment of crime he probably is working out problems on a blackboard 10 miles away. The Adventure of the Final Problem. Makaviti is described as being a ginger cat. Ginger is nothing but alert and cautious, who is very tall and thin with sunken eyes. And he is always swaying his head from side to side like a snake, with movements like a snake. The poem also says his brow is deeply lined in thought. His head is highly domed, his coat is dusty from neglect, his whiskers are uncombed. Uncombed means what? He is so busy, he is not having time to comb his whiskers, that's it. Once again, this description is a close parallel to that of Professor Moriarty. Now, we are going to learn about the poet T.S. Eliot, Thomas Stearns Eliot. He is one of the dominant figures of the 20th century literature and thinking. Some of his quotes. "I have measured out my life with coffee spoons. Only those who will risk going too far can possibly find out how far one can go." Now we are going to see the warm-up exercises here. A French proverb goes thus: "The dog may be wonderful prose, but only the cat is poetry." You may have observed that all animals possess a number of unique qualities. Fill in the columns with the words and phrases associated with each of the following animals. Dog, it's a faithful animal. And then the sum of the words and phrases given here: dog's life and dog in a manger. Cat is a stealthy animal. Some of famous words and phrases: cat call, let the cat out of the bag. Wolf is a cunning animal. It's a famous word, wolf whistle. And then the phrase about the wolf: keep the wolf from the door. Elephant is a mighty animal. The famous thing is its air. It's so large, isn't it? At the same time, one phrase is there about elephant, an elephant in the room. Next one, people admire some of these animal qualities. What are they? Have you noticed some of them in yourself or in others? Share your views with the class. Faithfulness, love and care for the master are the important qualities associated with the dog. Stealthiness is associated with cat. Wolf is known for voraciousness, whereas elephant is associated with its might. I am loyal and faithful to my friends. They are also faithful to me. So we work together well. In my neighbor's behavior, I observe the cat's quality, namely stealthiness. Whenever a meeting of the residents in our area takes place, he enters without others' notice and leaves the place as stealthily as a cat. Now we are going to see the meaning of the poem Makaviti the Mystery Cat. In this poem, Makaviti is a master criminal who is too clever to leave any evidence of his guilt. His nicknames include the Mystery Cat, the Hidden Paw, and the Napoleon of Crime. Now this is the tone of the poem Makaviti the Mystery Cat. The mood is mysterious and it is constant on the whole poem. The tone is playful, although the mood is the complete opposite. This makes the poem more interesting and funny. Now we are going to see the theme of this poem, Makaviti the Mystery Cat. Makaviti, also called the Mystery Cat and the Hidden Paw, is a master criminal. In the poem, he is portrayed as too clever to leave any evidence of his guilt. One of the main themes in the poem is criminality, because the poem is a comparison to criminals. So the Makaviti, the character Makaviti, is compared here to the criminal. Now we are going to see the summary of the poem. T.S. Eliot, the poet, is an essayist who is writing a lot of essays. Critic, playwright, and poet of 20th century. The poet, in his poem Makaviti the Mystery Cat, he describes the mysterious qualities of a cat of villainous character. Villainous characters such as stealing something, that means a milk, and then breaking some other some other antennas, whatever it may be, and then looting all the cupboards, whichever is useful to storing some food items, like that. He is involved in the villainous activities. That's why it is described as a cat of villainous character. Makaviti is a tall and thin cat who is always up to some crime. He is too clever to leave any evidence of his guilt. He is doing all the criminal activities without leaving any evidences. He is an enigma to every detective agency. Enigma means what? He is escaping easily from the detective agencies in the world, including Scotland Yard and Flying Squad. They are all specialized in investigating the crime, isn't it? But he is not showing any evidence to the detective agencies. So he is called here as an enigma to all the detective agencies such as Scotland Yard and Flying Squad. They are all specialized in the investigation of crime. There is never enough proof to arrest him. They are not having any proof to arrest Makaviti because he is a mile away from all crime spots. Not only does he break the human law, he is not only breaking the human law, but also he is breaking the law of gravity. So by this sentence, what the poet is trying to say, you just see here, he is breaking all the law, not only the human law. Each and every law was broken by the Makaviti. His brows are deeply lining as a result of continuous planning of crime. His eyebrows are always lining. It's so busy because it is having some continuous plan in it. It is always planning something continuously about some other criminal activities. Makaviti has sunken eyes and his head is highly domed. Sunken eyes means what? He is always busy, he is always thinking. That's why his eyes are always sunken. At the same time, his head is highly domed. Dome means what? It is looking like an arch because it's it is filled with a lot of criminal activities. Next, what he is going to do, like that he is always thinking He is always busy in thinking the criminal activities, what he is going to commit the next. He never combs his whiskers because he is not having time to comb it. Isn't it? That's why he is so busy in involving in criminal activities, and then he is always planning continuously the crime activities with his partners, whatever it may be. His movements resemble those of a snake. How he is moving? Like a snake. He is always moving like a snake. He is always swaying his head side to side like a snake. He spends his time plotting for his criminal acts and planning how to carry them out. He is always planning. His thought is filled with the criminal acts. The poem accuses Macavity of misbehavior. What are the misbehavior mentioned here? That means he is stealing the milk to drink, but also holds him responsible for major crimes. He is doing lot of major crimes here. That's why his character is compared here with misbehavior. He is referred to as a fiend in feline shape. What a wonderful word here. Fiend means what? He is compared as a giant, but in a cat shape. Feline means what? Cat. He is looking like a cat, but the activities done by the cat is like a giant, a monster. He has been suspected of vandalism, theft, cheating at courts, and spying. He is doing all the criminal activities such as vandalism, theft, cheating at courts, and spying. He has also controlled an organized crime with Mungojerry, Rumpelteazer, and Griddlebone among the members. He is always controlling an organized crime. He is having a group. He is having a troop with him. He is having a team. What team he is having? His team has the members Mungojerry, Rumpelteazer, Griddlebone. So, Macavity has also controlled an organized crime with its partners. Who are they? Mungojerry, Rumpelteazer, and Griddlebone. Now we are going to see the poem stanza wise. Macavity is a mystery cat. He is called the hidden paw. For he is the master criminal who can defy the law. He is the bafflement of Scotland Yard, the flying squad's despair. For when they reach the scene of crime, Macavity is not there. Macavity is a mystery cat. The cat is known by the name Hidden Paw because he is the master criminal who can disobey any law. Why he is called as the master criminal here? Because he is not obeying the law. He is always disobeying the law. That's why he is called as master criminal here in this poem. Even the famous detective agencies like Scotland Yard is nothing but London Metro Police Service Headquarters, and the Flying Squad, England Police Force. They are unable to catch him. He is the cause of the bafflement. What's the bafflement? Bafflement is a total confusion of the detective agencies such as Scotland Yard. That means London Metro Police Service, and then Flying Squad, British Naval Force. Everybody, they were getting confusion because of the Macavity. And despair to the Flying Squad. Whenever they reach the place of crime, whenever they reach the spot of the crime, surely Macavity will not be there. Why? Because he is a mysterious cat. Surely he won't be there in the crime spot. Next we are going to see the second stanza. The next stanza. Makaviti, Makaviti, there's no one like Makaviti. He has broken every human law. He breaks the law of gravity. His powers of levitation would make a fakir stare. And when you reach the scene of crime, Makaviti is not there. No one can be equal to Makaviti, as he is the unique one. He is a master in breaking the laws made by the humans. He even breaks the law of gravity with his quick and amazing charm. That means he is not only breaking the human law, he is breaking all the laws. His powers of levitation. What means powers of levitation? Would make a fakir stare. Powers of levitation means it's a power of floating in the air. His powerful jump is seen as if he is floating in the air. It makes a fakir, who also has the power of floating, to look at his flight in the air with a surprise. So, the flight of Makaviti make the fakir to surprise, because he alone have the power of floating in the air. But here Makaviti also started to float in the air. That's why the fakir, the person who's able to float in the air, would surprise because of the flight of Makaviti. When you reach the crime scene, that means when you reach the crime spot, Makaviti is not there. So, immediately he will escape from there. That itself explained by this line. So, there is no one like Makaviti, because Makaviti is not equal to any other person. He is always breaking the laws, whatever it may be. He would make a fakir stares. That means stare means surprised, because of the power of levitation what he had. And when you reach the crime spot to catch Makaviti, surely he will not be there. The third stanza. You may seek him in the basement, you may look up in the air, but I tell you once and once again, Makaviti is not there. Makaviti is a ginger cat. He is very tall and thin. You would know him if you saw him, for his eyes are sunken in. You may search for him in the basement. Basement means underground. Or you may look for him in the sky. He may be floating in the air. But the poet surely tells that once after doing a crime, Makaviti will not be found there. He must escape as soon as possible. Makaviti is a ginger cat. Ginger is nothing but the quality of that Makaviti is explained here as alert and cautious. He is very alert and cautious. That's why his alertness and cautiousness makes him to escape from the crime spot immediately. He is very tall and thin. His eyes are deeply sunken in. You can recognize him when you see him, because his eyes are sunken in, because it is filled with the thoughts, evil thoughts, isn't it? So, here in this stanza, Makaviti is described as a ginger cat. That means alert and cautious cat. A fourth stanza. His brow is deeply lined with thought. His head is highly domed. His coat is dusty from neglect. His whiskers are uncombed. So his eyebrow is always lined with the thought. Lined means what? It is always filled with the some other crime activities. His thought is filled with the criminal activities. His head is highly domed. Domed is nothing but looking like an arch, because his mind is filled with the criminal activities what he is going to commit. His coat is dusty. It's full of dust from neglect. He's not having time to clean it or whatever it may be. His whiskers are uncombed. He's not having time to comb his whiskers. He sways his head from side to side with movements like a snake. He's always swaying his head, restless, side to side like a snake's movement. And when you think he is half asleep, yes, Maccavities is sleeping. Likewise, when we are thinking, surely he will not be sleeping at that time. He is always wide awake. His eyebrows are deeply lined with thought, because he is always in deep thoughts or making a plan to commit a crime anywhere else. His head is dome-like, round in shape. Why? Because it is filled with a lot of thinking. His coat is dusty with neglect. It's so dusty. It's not a clean. His whiskers, long stiff hair grown near the mouth, are not combed, because he has no time to come out of his evil thoughts. He is always busy with his evil thoughts. That's why he is not having time to come out of it, isn't it? That's why he is not having time to comb it nicely. His space means what? Moves his head from side to side while moving like a snake. If you think that he is half asleep, you are mistaken. If you think that he is half asleep, that surely you are mistaken. He is always alert and wide awake. He is not sleeping at all. Now we are going to see the next stanza. Maccavity, Maccavity, there's no one like Maccavity. For he is a fiend in feline shape, a monster of depravity. You may meet him in a by street, you may see him in the square. But when a crime is discovered, then Maccavity is not there. Yes. No one can be equal to Maccavity, as he is the unique one, he is a special one. It's because he is a fiend. Fiend means what? He is a devil. But he is in the shape of a cat. He is looking like a cat, but inside the cat, who is he? He is a devil. He is a monster of depravity. Monster means a giant. He is a giant of evil quality what he has. Evil quality means moral corruption. He is not having any morality with him. You may meet him by chance in a by street. You may meet him in a by street. Or you may see him in a square. Square means what? It's a plaza or open area. But when a crime is discovered there, crime discovered, at that time he will not be found at the scene. Surely he will not be found at the spot where the crime has been committed. So that much alert. The Maccavity is mentioned as a alert cat there. Next stanza. He is outwardly respectable. They say he cheats at cards, and his footprints are not found in any file of Scotland Yards. And when the larders looted, or the jewel case is rifled, or when the milk is missing, or another pig's been stifled, his outward impression is respectable, as he is very clever and cunning. He is master in moral corruption and cheats at cards. His footprints are never to be found in any file of Scotland Yards. because he is escaping immediately. That's why his footprints are never to be found in any file of the detective agencies such as Scotland Yards, whatever it may be. So he is a master in moral corruption and he is cheating at cards. He commits the looting of the larder. Larder means it's a cupboard used for storing food items. He ransacks to steal the jewel case. He is responsible for the missing of milk. Surely he will steal the milk. And strangulation, killing by pressing the throat of pig. Pig means what? A small Chinese dog. So pigs being stifled. Stifled means what? By killing that pig. Pekingese dog. Pekingese dog means what? By pressing its throat. Because it is a shouting at the arrival of Macavity, isn't it? That's why this was not liked by Macavity. That's why it is killing that Pekingese dog by pressing its throat. So his outward impression is respectable, but he is very clever and cunning. He is very master in moral corruption. His footprints are never to be found in any file of detective agencies. What are the criminal activities he commits? He is looting the larder, he is stealing the jewel case, he is stealing the milk, and he is killing the Pekingese dog, a small Chinese dog. Now, next stanza. Or the greenhouse glass is broken and the drill is past repair. There's a wonder of the thing, Macavity is not there. And when the Foreign Office find a treaty is gone astray, or the Admiralty lose some plans and drawings by the way. Some more crimes such as breaking of the greenhouse glass. Greenhouse glass means what? Where we are keeping lot of plants under a green covering, isn't it? And then trellis. Trellis is nothing but it's a wooden bar used as support for creepers. Yes, it's a wooden bar for supporting the creepers to climb up, isn't it? These are usually committed by him. What are the things he is breaking? He is breaking the greenhouse glasses and trellis. But it is surprising that he does not leave any evidences of crime behind him as if he does not present there. When a file of treaty from the Foreign Office is found missing, or the Admiralty is nothing but government department that administered the British Navy. It has lost some plans and drawings, or a scrap of paper is found in the hall or on the stair. Then there is no use in investigating the matter because Macavity will not be found responsible for those crimes. So whatever crime, whatever investigation will be found out, no use. It's an useless one. There may be a scrap of paper in the hall or on the stair, but it is useless to investigate. Macavity is not there. And when the loss has been disclosed, the Secret Service say it must have been Macavity, but he is a mile away. So finally the Secret Service might say that it is done by Macavity. So they found out, isn't it? But that is of no use. It's useless to investigate such thing because by the time he will be a mile away from the place of crime. Surely he will be escaped from the crime spot. There is no use to investigate such thing. The crime was done by whom? Like that. The next stanza, you will be sure to find him resting or a licking of his thumbs or engaged in doing complicated long division sums. Macavity, there's no one like Macavity. There never was a cat of such deceitfulness and suavity. Without any doubt, you can find him relaxing or licking his thumbs. He will be surely resting or relaxing himself by licking of his thumbs. At the time we will think what it is. He is sitting, relaxing, licking. Likewise we are thinking. But he is engaged in doing complicated long division sums. At that time also, he may be busy in solving the complicated, that means difficult sums of long divisions. Macavity, there's no one like Macavity. Macavity is not equaled with someone. He is a specialized, he is a unique. There had never been a cat of such deceitfulness and suavity. What means deceitfulness? He is not an honest person. He is a dishonest. He is full of dishonesty and cunningness. Suavity is having lot of tactful confidence and sophistication in the past. So what qualities is this? It's an evil qualities. It's not a good qualities. Deceitfulness means dishonesty and cunningness. Suavity means tactful confidence and sophistication. Next stanza, that means the last stanza. He always has an alibi and one or two to spare. At whatever time the deed took place, Macavity wasn't there. And they say that all the cats whose wicked deeds are widely known, I might mention Mungojiri, I might mention Griddlebone, are nothing more than agents for the cat who all the time just controls their operations, the Napoleon of crime. He always using an alibi. Using an alibi means a claim of evidence that he was elsewhere when a crime was committed, and sometimes two alibis also. Whatever time the crime took place, he was not present at place of the crime at that time. Then the poet tells about other cats like Mungojeri, Rumpelteazer, Griddlebone, whose wicked deeds are known to people, but those are the agents of Macavity who controls their operations. He is really the Napoleon of crime. We have heard about the other cats like Mungojeri, Griddlebone and then Rumpelteazer, but they are all known to the people, but they are the agents of Macavity. They are the partners of Macavity, because Macavity controls the criminal operations with its partners. So we are calling him as the Napoleon of crime. Napoleon means what? Is the master of all the criminals done by all the cats. Thank you. Now we are going to see the glossary which helped us to learn the poem easily. Defy, to resist or to challenge. Bafflement, total confusion. Scotland Yard, the headquarters of London Metropolitan Police Service. Flying Squad, a police force ready to plunge into action. Levitation, the action of rising and floating in air. Fakir, a holy person who lives on alms and has the power to levitate. Ginger, alert and cautious. Fiend, demon, devil. Feline, shape of a cat. Depravity, evil quality. Larder, cupboard for storing food items. Rifle, ransack to steal. Peak, a Pekingese dog, a small Chinese dog. Stifle, to suppress someone from acting. Trellis, wooden bar used as a support for creepers. Admiralty, a government department that administered the British Navy. Deceitfulness, cunningness, suavity, tactful confidence and sophistication. Alibi, a claim of evidence that one was elsewhere when a crime was committed. Mystery, secret, furtive. Bafflement, confusion, levitation, flying on the air. Seek, search, lined with, full of. Space, moose, feline, cat. Depravity, evil quality, rifled, stolen. Defy, challenge, despair, dejection. Fakir, a holy person who has the power to float in the air. Sunken, lowered, domed, arched. Fiend, demon, devil. Monster, huge giant. Larder, cupboard for storing food items. Pig, a Pekingese dog, a small Chinese dog. Stifled, suppressed. Disclosed, revealed. Suavity, confidence. Napoleon of crime, leader of all criminal activities. Trellis, wooden bar used as a support for creepers. Scrap, tussle, fight. Deceitfulness, cunningness, dishonesty. Deed, action. Thank you. Thank you for the patience, students.